You know that feeling that there's this massive, powerful force inside you just waiting to be unleashed? Well, Tony Robbins says that force is absolutely real. And in the next few minutes, we're going to break down his entire roadmap for waking it up and taking immediate, decisive control of your life.
Everything starts right here. Not with your past, not with your circumstances, but with one thing, a decision. According to Robbins, the single most powerful tool you have is the ability to make a real, committed choice. It's the spark that literally ignites everything else.
And look, if you think that sounds a little over the top, just look at history. One man, Mahatma Gandhi, decided to free India. JFK decided to stand his ground during one of the most tense moments in world history. Martin Luther King Jr. decided to fight for civil rights. It's not about wishing for something, it's about committing. And that incredible power, it's inside every single one of us.
Okay, so if the what is making a decision, what's the why? I mean, what's really driving us to choose one thing over another? It turns out the answer is surprisingly simple. It all boils down to two primal forces that run our entire lives.
And here they are. Every single thing we do, everything, is about one of these two things: running away from pain or moving toward pleasure. But here's the real kicker, the big insight from Robbins' work. We will do so much more to avoid pain than we will ever do to gain pleasure. That instinct to escape pain is by far our most powerful motivator.
So how does our brain even manage this constant push and pull? It's through something called neuro-association. You can think of it like unconscious wiring in your nervous system that connects certain things with either pain or pleasure. And the key thing to get here is that it's not logical. It's a gut-level feeling that steers our behavior way more than our intellect ever could.
Tony Robbins has this perfect story from his own life that makes this so clear. When he was a teenager, he thought drinking beer would be cool, right? That was the pleasure he was chasing. But his mom made him drink an entire six-pack until he got violently ill. In that moment, his nervous system forged this unbreakable link. Beer equals intense physical pain. And just like that, the desire was gone. Forever. That's a neuro-association.
All right, so if pain and pleasure are the engine driving us, what's the steering wheel? Robbins calls it your master system, and it's made up of three parts that you can actually control to consciously direct where you're going. Let's break them down.
First up, your beliefs. Think of them as the commanders-in-chief of your brain. They're the ones deciding what gets linked to pain and what gets linked to pleasure. For instance, in some cultures, death is this huge tragedy, right? That's because the belief is that it's a painful loss. But in other cultures, it's celebrated as a joyful journey. It's the same event, but a totally different belief creates a totally different experience.
So what's a really powerful belief you can adopt right now? Robbins points to this amazing Japanese principle of kaizen, or as he loves to call it, kanni, constant and never-ending improvement. It's the belief that you don't need these giant, dramatic leaps. Instead, it's the tiny, daily improvements that compound over time to create massive, unbelievable results.
The second part of your master system is even more immediate. It's your focus. Right now, in this very second, what are you choosing to pay attention to? Because here's the deal. Whatever you focus on is what you feel. Period. And the camera lens metaphor for this is just perfect. Imagine you're at a party. If you point your camera lens only at the one couple having an argument in the corner, your reality is that it was a terrible party. But if you focus on everyone laughing and dancing, it was an amazing party. See? Your focus doesn't just record your reality, it pretty much creates it.
And finally, the third piece, the words you use. This is so powerful because the label you put on an experience actually becomes the experience. Just look at these examples. If you say, "I'm furious," your body literally floods with stress hormones. But if you consciously decide to say, "I'm a little annoyed," you physically turn down the emotional intensity. Using this transformational vocabulary is one of the fastest ways to change how you feel.
This story about the stonecutter just sums it all up perfectly. Every time you consciously choose a better belief, shift your focus, or use a more empowering word, it's like one small tap on that giant rock. At first, it feels like nothing's happening, but you keep tapping and tapping, building up this internal pressure until one day, crack, the breakthrough happens, and you realize it wasn't that final hit that did it. It was all 1,000 hits that came before.
Okay, so we've got the tools, we understand our driving forces, pain and pleasure, and we have the master system to direct them. So the next big question is, how do we actually use all this stuff to start consciously building the life we really want?
So here's where it gets really crucial. It all comes down to your identity. Who do you believe you are?
Because the strongest force in our personality is this deep, driving need to act in a way that's consistent with how we define ourselves. If you define yourself as an athlete, you'll train. Your identity is the blueprint for your behavior.
And these examples just show how deep this really goes. Think about it. The label homeless feels permanent, like a final state. But temporarily without a home, that frames it as a problem to be solved. It leads to completely different actions. It's the same reason the character Jean Valjean's entire life changed the second he stopped seeing himself as a criminal and adopted the identity of an honest man.
Now, a new identity needs a destination to move toward. That's your vision. And having a compelling future isn't just a nice daydream. Robbins says it's a necessity. It's the magnetic force that literally pulls you forward through all the challenges and the tough days.
And here's a super simple 3-step process to get started. First, just let yourself dream. No limits. Write it all down. Second, make those dreams real by giving them timelines. What do you want in 1 year, 3 years, 10 years? And third, commit to CANI, that amazing principle of constant daily improvement that guarantees you're always making progress.
But Robbins says there's a level even beyond personal achievement. Once you start to get a handle on your own world, you discover what he calls the deepest secret to a truly fulfilling life. The ultimate joy doesn't come from getting, it comes from giving. It comes from contribution.
And just think about the scale of this for a second. Robbins did the math and figured that if every American contributed just 5 hours a week, it would generate over 500 million hours of service. I mean, can you imagine the problems we could solve with that kind of collective effort? It's staggering.
This quote really captures the heart of that final shift in thinking. It's so easy to get caught up in our day-to-day human experience, the problems, the frustrations, but remembering this larger identity, that we are spiritual beings, connects us to a purpose way bigger than ourselves, a purpose where contribution just feels right.
So there you have it. The principles are right here. The power is already inside you. And the decision, as it always is yours. The giant within you is awake. The only question left is, what are you going to command it to do?